and do order yourself some stuff. It's really good. Let's start off with this then. We're talking about the Glazers selling Manchester United. Let's start with this on the screen here. So it's coming in from, I think it was John Cross in the Daily Star, saying that the Glazers would consider selling Manchester United if a bid was made in excess of 10 billion dollars, which is about £9 billion. Just hold that thought, because people will say Daily Star, this, that and the other. But then Simon Jordan on TalkSport this morning was saying that my understanding is that United could be bought for 4 billion to 5 billion, but with the Chelsea situation and the increase in the market interest towards football, I think the Rain Group now believe Man United is more of a 7 billion play. So that's from TalkSport. And I'd say that Simon Jordan's probably more realistic there as to what the Glazers would want. Now, we've spoken about this a little bit, and look, Chelsea went for 4 billion, didn't it? But I think 1.25 of that was investment into the club that had to be part of that purchase as well. So basically 2.75 is the fee, and then you put 1.25 into players or infrastructure, etc. But Chelsea's not Manchester United, and ultimately your house might be worth £500,000, but if you won't sell it for anything less than £1 million, you can put a silly price tag on there, and maybe that's what Manchester United are doing. But just out of context, let me just say this, because I've done a little bit of research here. The most expensive sports team in history, I think, is the Denver Broncos, which is an American football team. They went for 4.2 billion. The highest valued club in sports is meant to be the Dallas Cowboys, which is 7.2 billion. And most people would value Real Madrid at about 5 billion. So Manchester United valuing the Glazers valuing Manchester United at anywhere between 7 and 10 billion would almost put them double in value of bigger, more attractive sports teams, whether it be Real Madrid or an American football team. So I choose not to get frustrated by this. I choose, I think maybe what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said this morning was about, keeping the Glazers on side. And let's not forget there was that story from the Newcastle chairman that came out last week where they'd been offered 30% for 700 million. And instead they bought Newcastle outright. So what is not a secret and what is absolutely clear, in my opinion, is that if you look at United 5 years ago, how many stories were we getting about somebody being interested in buying United, or United's value being this, or United offering up 30% to somebody who went and then bought a different club instead because they wanted to own a whole club? We're getting a lot of these stories, and there's no smoke without fire. And I think that there is a story there, and I think that ultimately there is a story there, and I think that ultimately that it is that the Glazers are looking at ways to finance Manchester United. Now, whether that's through a sale or whether that's through investment, I definitely do think that that's what they're looking at, and I've got no doubts about that. I think it's very, very clear that at this moment in time that there is some movement around Manchester United, and whatever the value is, it really could be, oh yeah, we're looking to see if anybody buy it. It's like putting your house on the market, isn't it? You put your house on the market, you might get 20 people look at it, and you might get 5 offers, and you might value your house at, like I say, £500,000. 5 people want to buy it, and it's best and final offers, and somebody offers 600,000 or 700,000. Maybe that's what the Glazers are doing. Maybe the Glazers are sort of like, let's put out a really big high fee, and let's see if anybody comes in and offers it, because you never know. They might go and get some really, well, it's like White Owl says, the Saudis might come in and say, we'll do it. Manchester United is it's a good and a bad thing for us as fans, but Manchester United, if you think about football, and if you said to anybody in the world, wherever they are in the world, whether they know anything about football in the world, name 5 football clubs, Manchester United would get named. I'm sure Real Madrid and Barcelona would, but Manchester United would get named. It's a huge name in sport, and I think that these fees that you're seeing, the 7 billions, the 9 billions, I think that a lot of that is just because Manchester United is a huge name, and the Glazers want to get as much money for it as they want to sell it or not. Well, no one knows the answer to that, but I mean, I think I always said that I think they value it at about 6 billion. But I do truly believe that if you could buy Manchester United and run it the right way, it probably would be worth 10 billion in 10 years' time or 5 years' time. I mean, I think football clubs are only going to become more valuable. Jay Football says United is worldwide. Look, we could talk and talk and talk about this, but ultimately, I feel that the big story here is that Manchester United, I believe, is for sale. I believe there's too many stories going round about it. And I'll keep reverting back to what my personal opinion is, and it's nothing to do with the protests, and it's nothing to do with not winning a title for 10 years, and it's nothing to do with dividends or debt or anything like that. I truly believe that the fundamental reason the Glazers will sell is because it's going to cost hundreds of millions of pounds to rebuild or restructure or renovate Old Trafford. And I don't think they like spending money anyway, but granted they have spent money on players. But when you spend £100 million and you've got Anthony or Ronaldo or whoever, you get something for your money. I don't think they want to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on a stadium that they've already got that gets 75,000 people in it. That's when you invest in a new stadium, that's longevity, that's caring about your club. It's a status thing. I don't think the Glazers really give a shit about building a brand new stadium for Manchester United fans. It's a different type of ownership when you do that. And I don't think we have that type of owner. I don't think we've got owners that really care about the football club and the fans enough to go and spend £300 million of their own money or whatever to rebuild a football ground. I don't think they do. But it's got to be done. It's a ticking time bomb, Old Trafford. It's got to be renovated. It's got to be rebuilt. And they haven't got the money to do it. So unless they get investment or they sell it, that's why I think they will. Who has enough for 9 billion and as well as transfers and work doing on the ground and training grounds? To me, realistically, they don't want to sell, says Nathan Allen. Would Ten Hag know about Man United being bought, says not using? No, I don't think it's anything to do with Ten Hag. But going back to what Nathan said there, they could be setting a price tag so high so that nobody buys it. Another analogy: if I've got a Ferrari on my drive and I don't want to sell it and people want to buy it, I'm just going to put a ridiculous price tag on it that no one's ever going to pay just to leave me alone. On the other hand, you might be putting a ridiculous price tag on it for somebody to make an offer that's high, and then you just go with that. But I do think it is for sale. I do think it is for sale because I just don't think they have the money to do what needs to be done with the football club. So we went in the summer 2022 to buy Anthony for 100 million because we needed balance in the front three as Anthony's left-footed, says Ihab. Glazers couldn't care less about the stadium or Carrington, says Zero Blade. I don't think they do either, and I think that's why I think that they will end up selling. Why are the FA bringing up a charge against Ronaldo from last season when the police have dealt with it? Appeal all the way, even to the Court of Appeal, says Majek. We're going to talk about that in a minute, actually. I have got a bit of a cold. Yes, Daz, I have got a bit of a cold, unfortunately. But hopefully it'll be gone in a couple of days. So look, there's a couple of stories just to start the stream off with. Man United, Glazers, valuing Manchester United anywhere between £6 and £10 billion.